What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, probably the last video I'm going to be dropping before the actual trade deadline day, before we break down the moves that the Jets, inevitably make. But now I'm making the video to, just kind of get a sense of what we can expect from the Jets. Now, you might recall 2 days ago on Monday, I made a video explaining that, hey, it doesn't sound like the Jets are going to be, doing too much, outside of maybe one or two pieces. Maybe it won't be the flashiest deadline ever. And now all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, everything's on the table. So, I'll make a couple points on that in just a second, but it's just crazy at the trade deadline time. You really never know what's going on. You really never know what's happening, because as soon as you hear the news, it's probably outdated already. It's such a complicated time and people make so many speculations, but that's what makes it so fun. Darren Dreger has gone ahead and said that the Jets are planning to be aggressive for the right fit. So when they see a player that they like, they're going to be going extremely hard after them. Now, I don't think to this point the Jets have really necessarily thrown all the chips in on somebody. Maybe they have, I don't know, but I think they've been patient, and patience is key at the trade deadline, as we've seen, because, prices are going to be coming down. Teams are paying a premium right now for players that just aren't that good, and players that are rentals. And, if we look at some of the guys that have been getting moved, it's like, Lindgren from New York, brutal year for him. The Stars obviously got Granlund and CC. That's probably the best player, Granlund, that's gotten moved so far. Decent price for Dallas, a guy that I really wanted the Jets to avoid. I'm not a Granlund guy. We keep going down the list. And Gustav Nyquist, a rental Gustav Nyquist at 35, got traded for a second-round pick. That is unbelievable work by Nashville to get a 2 there. But the closer and closer we get to the deadline, the more teams open up what they can do. The more teams, announce themselves as sellers. And now the New York Islanders seemingly are for sure selling. It seems like they've announced that they're going to be moving Brock Nelson, Kyle Palmieri, among others, if the, fit is right for them. And they're going to get, some pretty great offers. Brock Nelson is probably the best UFA on the board right now. And, it's a guy that I guarantee you the Jets are calling about right now. He would be a great fill for that second-line center spot, and just a really great 5-on-5 player, something that Jets desperately need. This is a deadline where they should be looking at the 5v5 help for sure, because as we've seen the last few games, it has been a big-time hole up front, among some other stuff that we'll talk about in a second here. I do wonder about Rickard Rakell. Elliot Freeman brought him up and connected him to Winnipeg, I think, like 6 weeks ago or something like that, so that would be a really cool move if Pittsburgh was willing to move him. I don't see why they wouldn't. They could probably get at least a first-round pick for a guy like that and accelerate their retool over there. I would just really like the Jets to add a guy up front that can add some impact. A scorer, definitely needs some more scoring, some more versatility in the lineup, because if the first line isn't going, if the power play isn't going, need to find some other ways here to put the puck in the back of the net. So 1 or 2 scoring forwards that are decent 5-on-5 would be a big get for Winnipeg. Now, on the flip side, on defense, Jets need some help. Desperately. Dylan Sandberg goes away for 1 day for family issues, and the defense just self-implodes on themselves. Puck management, brutal. A Stanley and Pionk pairing in 2025, brutal. We can't have that in the playoffs, or the Jets are not going to win games. That's just bottom line. Jets need some more depth there. 1 third pairing left-hand shot D. Don't have to spend a ton there, but I would even argue that you need to add a top 4 guy on the right side, just to have that depth coming playoff time, because one guy goes down in the top 4 and it is in total disaster. If you have Stanley playing, 18 minutes plus a night, good luck. I don't know if you're going to be winning that one, especially if he's partnered with Pionk. We've seen how those two work together. They're okay at times in the offensive zone, but when they go the other way to the defensive zone, it is an absolute nightmare. So I really hope that they're looking at, maybe a cheaper D to put on, the left-hand shot bottom pairing, but I would really like to see if maybe they could somehow scrounge out a top 4D. We'll see, but I find that that's probably the most unlikely ad, unless it's a guy like Rasmus Ristolainen. So I've, named a few guys here. I'm going to rip off a little bit more. Obviously I've named Nelson and Raquel as pretty good options. Jason Zucker's a guy I really like, just more of a scorer. Not necessarily the greatest defensive player ever, but imagine him on a line with like Adam Lowry and Nito Niederreiter. I really wonder all the time, what would it be like if the Jets had a shooter with Lowry and Nino? I think, he'd fit the bill big time, having a good season with Buffalo, on pace to be over 20 goals this season, has had a really good year, is a rental, would be cheap pickup for the Jets. Maybe not cheap, but maybe second round pick or so. I think the Jets could part with that for some secondary scoring. I think that'd be a nice addition. On the flip side, the same role, Connor Geekie would be a massive pickup. Jets want to get bigger, want to get, more scoring. Well, you've got both here with Connor Geekie, the Manitoban, 20 goals, 33 points on the year, primarily playing wing. I know he's usually played center in his career, but this year on the wing, another guy that I think would fit great with Lowry and Nino. Just overall would bring so much more depth to that Jets bottom six. And if he has any interest in signing with Winnipeg in the offseason, I'd much rather a guy like this over a guy like, an Appleton. I like Alex Iafallo. I just don't want him, re-signed to the contract he currently has. I think Alex will probably walk in the offseason. So if the Jets are looking for an upgrade to play with Lowry and Nino for the next few years, I think that Morgan Geekie would be a great pickup. I mentioned Rasmus Ristolainen before, he's a name that's out there. I'm not so sure if the Jets end up with a guy like that, but a name that's been thrown out a little bit that's kind of intriguing is Brandon Carlo to me. Right-hand shot defenseman playing for the Boston Bruins for a number of years now. Big, huge body, 6'5", 220. He's a guy that, could probably play on your bottom pairing and be like super elite bottom pairing guy, or you could play him with Dylan Samberg and have a really good shutdown second pairing, right? Like Samberg, what a year he's had. Carlo and Samberg together I think would work out really well. I know that, the Jets like playing Pionk and Samberg together. That's understandable, but I just look at it as just another piece of versatility. If Pionk and Samberg don't work come playoff time, you have some backup options there, right? And very solid ones at that. So if the Jets are looking to bolster their defense, if they want to get maybe a cheaper one to push Stanley out of the lineup and add a better defenseman in Carlo, I think that would be a pretty good add there. The last few games for the Jets have proved that they have holes. They are not a perfect team. They may be first in the league, but they still need to upgrade if they want to go on a long playoff run, just like pretty much every other team in the NHL right now. I understand they have chemistry, I understand they have vibes, but that will not carry you in most cases to a Stanley Cup, and it won't carry this one, I promise you. The Jets need to add. I understand if you're a little bit skeptical and you don't want to break up the foundation of this team or screw up the room, risk bringing somebody in here that could be, not good for the room or whatever. But I promise you, Kevin Cheveldayoff is not going to bring anyone stupid into this room. Whatever move he makes, it's going to be calculated, and I think we're in for a little bit of a surprise come deadline day. I know there's a lot of people skeptical about it, but I really do expect the Jets to rattle off some moves here in the next couple of days, and I think we're going to be very surprised, as I said before, by the end of this one. So that's all I got today. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you guys thought about the video in the comments down below. Leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I'm vibrating. I can't wait for this trade deadline, man. I'm stressed out, but I'm so excited. So love to hear from you guys. See you in the next one. Go Jets, go. Bye-bye.